Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Tuesday's edition of the DCEU Daily. In the past 7 days, since certain accusations have been made by a certain actor playing a certain Scarlet Speedster, WB have run distraction after distraction. In fact, I will read you a couple of articles later on today's show displaying these continuing distractions. But no DCEU distraction. Pictures of Black Canary, directors and producers standing by pianos, or James Gunn making exciting statements have really worked. The only thing that's worked is when the Joker sequel was announced. Well, if you think that was a huge distraction, take a listen to this. Lady Gaga is in early talks to play Harley Quinn in a Joker sequel musical. Now, I'm distracted, I admit, and I'm very, very excited. I want you not to get overly excited, though, because I'm hearing rumbles that Joaquin Phoenix not only hasn't signed his Joker sequel contract yet, it's a bit protracted because he doesn't want Gaga as Quinn. He wants somebody else, so we'll have to see what happens, but let's get the details. Joker 2, Lady Gaga in early talks to join Joaquin Phoenix, Todd Phillips in musical sequel, exclusive. If a deal makes Gaga would play Harley Quinn, by Boris Kitt of The Hollywood Reporter. The Joker is back, and this time he's bringing a friend. Lady Gaga is in early talks to star opposite Joaquin Phoenix in director Todd Phillips' sequel to Joker, the 2019 Oscar-winning $1 billion Warner Brothers hit based on the DC character. Phillips has been co-writing the script with Joker co-writer Scott Silver for some time and has finally shown it to the studio. Last week, Phillips revealed on social media the title of the new project, Joker, Folie ou Deux, the title referencing a medical term for an identical or similar mental disorder that affects two or more individuals, usually members of the same family. Now that's interesting. And while the same social media post showed Phoenix reading the script, the actor's involvement is not exactly a legal fate accomplished just yet. Sources tell The Hollywood Reporter that Warner has yet to close a deal with the actor, with the two sides deep into it. Now, this is interesting because Joker, right, forget that, but folie à deux means, let's read this again, referencing a medical term for an identical or similar mental disorder that affects two or more individuals, usually members of the same family. Now, if you remember in the first film, there were hints that maybe Arthur Fleck and Bruce Wayne are related, that they're half brothers. So that's very, very interesting. So there could be, in terms of this story, elements of this could be deeply about Bruce Wayne and Arthur Fleck, but introducing Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn. How utterly exciting. Details on her character are being kept under wraps, but the Joker is known for his on-off abusive relationship with Harley Quinn, his psychiatrist at the mental institution known as Arkham Asylum, who falls in love with him and becomes his sidekick and partner in crime. It is unclear whether Phillips and company are using other DC characters or striking on their own, as they did in many instances with their first movie. If a deal makes Gaga would play Quinn. However, this new Quinn exists in a different DC universe than the Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, which most recently appeared in 2021's James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, as well as several other films. But wait, that's not all. Sources say the sequel is also a musical. When Warner's first made Joker, it was far from a sure thing. A dark and moody character piece, the project was a taxi driver meets king of comedy, descent into madness set in the late 70s, decaying city. Commercial prospects were deemed nominal, and it was only budgeted at 60 million. It made over $1 billion, but budgeted at 60 million. Wow. Now that's some profit margin. By the time it was released in October 2019, Joker was riding a wave of adulation from the full film festivals, which helped propel the movie into a record-breaking opening weekend, with box office analysts changing their prediction every day. It ended its theatrical run as the number 4 highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. It then earned 11 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, and won Best Actor for Phoenix and Best Score for Hildur Guðnadóttir. Try saying that with a fruit pastel in your mouth. So, this is very, very exciting. It's exciting, very exciting. Listen, I'm not really one for musicals, but hey, this is awesome, and I'm hyped for this. It takes us away from negativity of the DCEU, but that's not it. Because Harley Quinn apparently is going to be landing elsewhere, not with Margot Robbie in the Central Universe in the DCEU, but in Matt Reeves' The Batman sequel. A Joker has already been introduced. Now, could it be possible that Lady Gaga is actually not playing Harley Quinn, but another character? I don't know. But if you want to sell this movie even more than it's already going to sell, because this is a stamped-on hit already, Gaga playing Harley Quinn with Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck, aka the Joker, is a sellable commodity. And this is what David Zaslav is talking about, brand recognition and brand loyalty. So if it's a distractive tactic away from Miller and his alleged crimes, it's working. But at the end of the day, this hype will die down and Miller will keep on doing what he's doing. So yes, very, very exciting. I'm down for this. Of course I am. And it's the continuing kind of trend of moving away from the central DCEU. The central DC Extended Universe, as we know, it's a bit of a mess. Now, these distractions don't mean that they don't want to cancel the Flash movie or they're confident about the other 4 upcoming DCEU movies. If they're going to cancel The Flash, they're not going to do it now. This is why it's been pushed to next June. They will wait for the dust to settle and then they'll have to make a decision. But Ezra Miller is making the situation worse and worse. This is why you're getting so many distractions right now. But for me, this is excellent news. It's exactly what I want to see. It's going to be an awesome movie. Lady Gaga, of course, is a brilliant artist, an artist now turned actress. What does this mean for the future of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn? During the promotional marketing build-up to James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, she said after that film, she was going to give Harley a rest. She dialed back on that because the studio told her off, but it looks like it's true. It wouldn't surprise me if the studio want to move away from her Harley Quinn, maybe just for now, considering the bombs, her character's been involved with, and it is about money at the end of the day. I suspect that's why they allowed her to do the Barbie movie. Time will only tell when we see, or if we see, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn again, but it looks like we're getting 2 other Harley Quinns in 2 separate DC universes. Would this be like confusing for the audience? Listen, they were going to do a multiverse strategy at the beginning anyway. This is a different type of multiverse strategy where kind of it's not connected, but you've got different versions of these iconic DC characters. For me, that's really exciting. And no, I don't think people are going to be confused. Now, we'll have to find out what happens to Joaquin Phoenix's contract negotiations and Lady Gaga's. Let's not forget that Sharon Stone was tapped for Blue Beetle, and she was in early talks, and it ended up, it was going to be Sharon Stone who was going to play the villain, Ted Cole's wife, in the Blue Beetle movie, and now we've got Susan Sarandon in that role. A similar thing may happen here, that Joaquin Phoenix may not sign his contract unless he gets the actress as Harley that he wants. But the first and only place you're going to find out all this exclusive information is right here on Movies TV Mad and The Daily Show, the DC EU Daily. But I'm hyped for this news. I think It's awesome. The distraction from WB continues. This time, they're trying to get us to focus away from Ezra Miller and focus on Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam 2 director teases new creatures and more action in the dceu sequel. I actually think Shazam! Fury of the Gods will be a more successful and better movie than The Rock's Black Adam. I didn't think that before, but since seeing that trailer, I've kind of changed my mind. Shazam's Fury of the Gods director David F. Sandberg teases an action-packed sequel with mythical creatures which he's excited to show the fans, by Saeed Fadullah Hussaini of Screen Rant. Shazam! Fury of the Gods director David F. Sandberg teases bigger, more action-packed sequel with numerous mythical creatures. Sandberg's first Shazam movie came out in 2019, chronicling the story of teenage orphan Billy Batson, Asher Angel, as he developed the ability to transform into an adult superhero, Zachary Levi. In the movie, Billy fights and defeats the evil Dr. Fayadez Savannah and the 7 deadly sins, while at the same time helping his foster siblings secure superpowers of their own. Owing to its positive reception and decent box office performance, WB and DC greenlit a sequel to Shazam only days after its release. Initially, the movie was slated to hit theatres in 2023, but due to some recent schedule shuffling, the Shazam 2 release date is now set for December of this year, 5 days after the release of the Avatar sequel. So hopefully it's as good as I think it's going to be, because then it can survive against the Avatar sequel, which is one of the biggest sequels of all time. So much hype behind it. From the get-go, Sandberg has been hyping up Shazam! Fury of the Gods as a bigger sequel, with both more action and fantastical imagery than the original. As the director points out, the film has some great villains, Calypso and Hespera, respectively played by Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren, and set pieces which include new locations like Athens and the Realm of Gods, are also quite grand. During last year's DC Fandom, Sandberg also revealed the concept art for some of the mythical creatures that would appear in the film, and he is now excited to show them to his fans. I mean, personally, I love David F. Sandberg. I love James Wan. I love these people. My issue isn't with the people or the characters. I love DC. I just can't accept Ezra Miller running around doing what he's doing. I can't accept Superman being replaced by Supergirl in the Flash movie. These are my issues. I get as excited. Let's not get it twisted, because there's some hate for me out there now, right? Let's not get it twisted. I have a passion for DC live action. That has not changed since the day I saw Superman the movie and Smallville. But you know, what Ezra Miller is doing and what's going on with him is wrong. And these distractive tactics are also wrong, but I'm still hyped for these movies. In a new tweet, Sandberg expresses his excitement for Shazam 2. He calls the sequel a much bigger movie and says he's most stoked about the new creatures and action scenes, which he is sure will please superhero movie aficionados. Somewhat surprisingly, he doesn't want WB and DC to hold back from showing a lot of stuff in Shazam Fury of the Gods trailer, as he cannot wait for fans to see what he has done with the Shazam universe. Take a look at his tweet below. Yes, he's right. They do need to advertise lots about this movie because it's up against this huge, Avatar sequel. So they need to show as much as possible to say to people, to grab hold of people, say, this is an event, this is a great superhero movie, much better, bigger, bolder than the first movie. Let's go, let's do this, come and see this movie. That's going to be important. David F. Sandberg on Twitter. It's a much bigger movie than the first one. There's so much stuff that I can't wait for people to see. I hope they put a lot of it in the trailer. I don't even care about spoilers. I'm just eager to show off our creatures, action, etc. That's amazing. He does have an emoji at the end of this tweet. You never know with David if he's being serious or not as well. But I think he's right if he's not joking. Show as much as you can, because you really need to sell this film to the audience. Fans first got the idea about the sequel being a level up from the original when Sandberg revealed Shazam 2's new costumes for all the superheroes. The costume upgrades signify bigger roles for the supporting cast, as well as more superhero action, both of which have been guaranteed by Sandberg. Additionally, since Shazam Fury of the Gods takes place 2 years after the original movie, it has been specified that Billy and his siblings are now more in control of their superpowers, meaning that they will be taking the new threats posed by Mirren and Lou heads on. Fans can also expect the action in Shazam 2 to be more serious than playful, as previous images of Levi's damaged suit point to an aggressive encounter between Shazam and the new villains. Talking specifically about the new mythical creatures in Shazam 2, the dragons, harpies, manticores and cyclops, it's hard to tell how they will fit into the story. The most likely possibility is that they are sidekicks to the main antagonist, who will cause trouble for Shazam and his siblings. Although there is also the chance that while some monsters would side with the villains, others could aid the heroes in the battle instead. More details about the action and creatures in Shazam Fury of the Gods will become clear once the trailer for the movie comes out, which, if the rumours are to be believed, could be soon. Yes, we are expecting a Shazam Fury of the Gods trailer very soon, and the Flash movie trailer very soon as well. All part of their distractive tactics, but I know that everyone wants to see these trailers. These films are coming out, I think, or at least a few of them are coming out. Still don't know about Batgirl and the Flash movie, but they're going to release images and marketing, and of course, it's very exciting. Now, last year, I saw a YouTube video where someone leaked nearly the entire movie, and I spoke about that video, and I gave spoilers. There is a big cameo at the end of this movie for a Justice League character. The same Justice League character they name drop all throughout this movie. It's going to be a great cameo, and I think everyone is going to be pleased. The distraction continues yet again, because if you were the head of this studio, you would be shitting yourself about the Ezra Miller situation. Now they've got James Gunn in on the act. James Gunn teases future DCEU plans with cryptic thinker image. The Suicide Squad director James Gunn teases future DCEU plans for a cryptic image of Peter Capaldi's The Thinker from the 2021 film by Andy, whose surname I can never pronounce. The Suicide Squad director James Gunn teases future DCEU plans for a cryptic image of Peter Capaldi's The Thinker from his 2021 film. While having been involved with the MCU through the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, Gunn came over to Warner Brothers when he was tapped to helm the sequel to David Ayer's Suicide Squad. Despite not drawing too much from the first installment, Gunn's The Suicide Squad brought in several new players into the DCEU, which was just the beginning of the filmmakers' DC collaboration. While a Suicide Squad 3 may not be in the cards as of right now, Gunn's involvement with the DCEU is far from over. One of the core characters Gunn introduced in the Suicide Squad was Peacemaker, played by John Cena. Not only was Peacemaker one of the biggest new characters to make their DCEU debut in the film, but he became the first player to get their own spin-off, with Gunn serving as a director, writer and executive producer on it. After its positive critical reception in Season 1, Peacemaker Season 2 is officially on its way, likely to arrive in 2023. And yet, even as Gunn is working on Peacemaker Season 2, which will reportedly shoot later this year, the filmmaker has continually teased that he has more DCEU plans in store. Gunn recently escalated his hints about continuing to work in the DCEU with a strange post. Gunn tweeted, "I can't wait to tell you all the big plans we currently have in play," with a cryptic image of the Doctor Who star Peter Capaldi as Gaius Greaves, aka the Thinker from the Suicide Squad. Whether these mysterious plans have to do with Capaldi's Thinker himself remains unclear at this point, but the image choice is curious. Check out Gunn's original tweet below. Yeah, he's got a picture of the Thinker here. Let's show it to you. Right, yeah, so he's got the Thinker there, and that's his tweet. So I am very excited. As I say, I know these are purposeful distractions, But I love DC and I want it to do well. And this is what my fight is here with Ezra Miller and then replacing Superman with Supergirl. It simply isn't right. And I know the logical people out there agree with me about that. While most DC audiences know of the Thinker as one of the Flash's recurring villains, the Suicide Squad created a new character to carry that title. Since Capaldi's character was killed off in Gunn's film, it's unlikely that the director's new DCEU plans are about the Thinker, unless Gunn is developing a prequel, series following the character prior to the events of the Suicide Squad. It remains to be seen what the filmmaker was teasing about future DCEU TV shows and or films. Aside from Peacemaker Season 2, Gunn is attached as a producer on an upcoming untitled Amanda Waller series that is in the works for HBO Max. Gunn said about that himself weeks later that maybe there was an exaggeration about that show. That show may yet not be a thing. Viola Davis, who has been part of the DCEU since Suicide Squad in 2016, will not only reprise her role but also executive produce it with Watchmen writer Crystal Henry. Even though Gunn used a photo of Thinker, there is always the chance his teasing of potential upcoming DCEU plans has to do with something outside the Suicide Squad franchise. Until he clarifies what's in the works, time will tell what Gunn has in store for the future of the DCEU. Listen, I respect James Gunn as a talent. I do enjoy James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, his Guardians of the Galaxy movie. He wrote Dawn of the Dead. Zack Snyder directed that. Scooby-Doo. He's a genius and he's a childlike director who respects the fans and talks to us and responds to us. He doesn't deserve our hate. Of course they've told him to run a distraction, but he's not lying. He's always had plans and there's no reason for Zaslav to have any problem with James Gunn. He has a huge problem with J.J. Abrams. So I'll update you on that situation right now because it's connected to DC live action because Abrams is supposed to be working on some DC stuff. Right, so Zaslav looked at the contract agreement with Abrams' company, Bad Robot. He noticed it's non-exclusive, which means, as we already know, he's going off to do a Star Trek 4 with Chris Pine and the gang. Zaslav doesn't like the non-exclusive element of it. I can tell you right here and right now, we are maybe weeks or months away from that J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot agreement being shredded. Being over and him being out the studio. It's going to take time, which means none of his Justice League dark stuff will ever happen. His Zatanna, his Constantine, and his Superman of Colour. And as much as I love JJ for Alias and Lost and Fringe and other things, I have to say I agree with this decision. Now let's go back to James Gunn. He's always been teasing something a little bit more darker away from Peacemaker. Yes, he's doing Peacemaker Series 2. Now, he could be posting a picture of Peter Capaldi, as the journalist said, as a distraction, so we don't really know who he's focusing on. But I have been suspicious about a Thinker prequel. You know, Peter Capaldi is a great Doctor Who, a great actor in his own right, and it will be great to see him back. But I've also suspected we're getting a Joe Manganiello Deathstroke show written and directed on HBO Max by James Gunn. This is something I would be very happy about. A lot of you diehard Snyder fans, and I am a Snyder fan, would be upset about this because a lot of you don't have no time for James Gunn. I would be excited to see what he does with it. He is a proficient director. He has got a certain style. He's not going to be back. I don't think he's going to be making theatrical content for the studio or for DC. He keeps on talking about how he prefers working in television now. That's because he was a bit burnt over the failure of his Suicide Squad movie. There was no reason for that movie to fail apart from the pandemic because it was a very good movie. So the only excuse we can have that had something to do with the pandemic, but I'll ask you this. If Spider-Man No Way Home was released at the same time as the Suicide Squad, do you think it would have made the same money? No. Maybe it wouldn't have made the $2 billion it eventually did, but it would have done a lot better in the box office. So something went wrong there. Do people still have issues with James Gunn's Twitter jokes that he was sacked from Disney originally from? Maybe it's Snyderverse fans. I don't know what happened there, but they're not boycotting him on HBO Max because Peacemaker season 1 set a streaming record. So Zaslav likes him, as we would have heard something to the contrary like we have about J.J. Abrams. So just closing off today and just saying, yes, all these are beautiful distractions. But if it brings some positivity to DC fans, who am I to fight against it? Today's main headlines: Joaquin Phoenix and Todd Phillips are developing a Joker sequel. And Lady Gaga is in early talks to play Harley Quinn in a musical I've been told she'll be writing every track for. I couldn't be more excited about this development. It's going to make a lot of money. It's going to get a lot of attention from the other studios. Don't be surprised if Kevin Feige announces a Disney Plus MCU musical as well. But whatever he does, he can't top Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn in a Joker sequel musical. This has been the DCEU Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again on Wednesday for Wednesday's edition of the DCEU Daily. Until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.